Shlump.
Hey everyone, Shlump here, back with another Witcher 3 video. Yes, another Witcher 3 video. Because when I recorded yesterday's video, the 40 Hz mode was not out for the Steam Deck yet. But now, after that video was made, it came out. And so, I'm showing it off here today, testing it, seeing how it works. And let me just say, I've played it in handheld mode on the Steam Deck screen, and it is amazing. It completely changes the game. This is going to be Steam Deck's secret weapon, along with FSR, which I'll talk about in another video. But today's strictly focused on 40 Hz, because what 40 Hz mode for the Steam Deck is and what it does, it sets the Steam Deck screen to 40 Hz. And what this does is it will allow you to play games at 40 FPS at 40 Hz. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what the heck, that sounds so weird. It's either 30 FPS, 60 FPS, or above. But let me explain, because as you'll see in the video later on, when I show the 40 Hz gameplay, or 40 FPS, since it's not on a 40 Hz screen, you're watching this at 60 Hz, presumably, it's going to look super choppy and jarring in motion. But when you're actually playing on the Steam Deck, and you have the screen set to 40 Hz, it feels super smooth. You're playing at 40 FPS, it doesn't feel as good as 60 FPS, but definitely feels notably better than 30 FPS. I think the math is you get like 33% less input latency. And so what this does is it ends up giving you a sweet spot between 60 FPS and 30 FPS. And there's a few reasons why you'd want to play like this at 40 FPS at 40 Hz. One, because the game that you want to play might not be able to run at a perfect 60 FPS. Like The Witcher 3, like I showed off in the last video, how no matter how low you set the graphics, it cannot hit a locked 60 FPS. So now what you can do is set the Steam Deck to 40 Hz refresh rate, and then you'll get that 40 FPS, so feel really good, and then that'll allow you to increase the graphics a whole lot more, make it look really nice, because the Steam Deck can run The Witcher 3 pretty much almost maxed out graphics at 30 FPS, but cannot hit that perfect 60 FPS. So you can have like really nice looking graphics and it would be really smooth at 40 FPS. And then also another reason you'd want to do this is because battery life. Running a game at 60 FPS compared to 30 FPS is a big use of power for the Steam Deck. It requires a lot more energy, and so it's going to drain the battery a lot faster. So going from 60 FPS to 40 FPS, and then also turning the screen down from 60 Hz to 40 Hz will save a good amount of battery. And besides those reasons, The Witcher 3 specifically benefits from the 40 Hz mode, because before, when you had to play at 60 Hz, and then you had to choose between 30 FPS and 60 FPS, well, the 60 FPS wasn't very good on here because it wasn't very stable, but using the in-game's 30 FPS cap caused a lot of inconsistent frame times on the chart. You're seeing a flat line right under where it says DXVK 40 FPS right now, but when you're playing at 30 FPS with the game's 30 FPS cap, that line would be all over the place. It'd be wobbly and it'd feel super juddery and just not fun to play. So what you can do to counter this is to use the Steam Deck's its own frame rate limiter. You can set it to 30, but then that fixes the jitteriness, but it creates a significant amount of input latency where it just also feels not fun to play. So you can either choose inconsistent frame times, which makes the game feel juddery, or you can choose heavy input latency. So both of them are not really good options, and it made me not want to play The Witcher 3 on the Steam Deck. Since the Steam Deck's software frame rate limiter creates input latency, you're better off using the in-game frame rate limiter for whatever game you're playing. But unfortunately here in the case of Witcher 3 wasn't very good. But now the 40 Hz mode fixes that problem, because you can have VSync on and then say in-game for Witcher 3 settings 60 FPS, and then turn 40 Hz on, and then the game will run at 40 FPS and feel really good, because you can see by the line there that it is smooth, it is flat. There's like one or two little stutters, but honestly, if you're playing the game without the frame rate graph on, you're not even going to notice them. I certainly didn't. I was surprised when I was doing this that there were any movements on that line at all, because when I was playing the game, it felt super smooth. You truly do have to experience it to actually like understand it, because you're watching this video now and it's not looking very good, but when it's on that 40 Hz screen in your hands, it feels awesome. Now that I have this mode, I'm definitely going to be applying it to more games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and Batman Arkham City, games where you're not going to be able to get 60 FPS, but you will now be able to get really beautiful looking graphics at a really smooth feeling 40 FPS. And in case you haven't figured it out yet what you're looking at on the screen, I probably should have explained it sooner. The first clip that I'm showing is the game running at my settings that I've created for 40 FPS, where you get the most graphics while getting that really good 40 FPS lock. And then, so this is running at 60 Hertz. And then the next clip is those exact same graphic settings, but now the Steam Deck screen is set to 40 Hertz, so now it's at 40 FPS. So it's just showing you how flat the line is and how well it runs. And the only purpose of the first clip, where it's at 60 Hertz with the same settings, is to show how much headroom you have, to show that the game is usually just only barely above 40 FPS, to prove that the settings really are optimized for the 40 FPS mode. So to sum it all up, 40 Hertz mode makes games a lot more enjoyable on the Switch. Games where previously 30 FPS and 60 FPS were maybe difficult options to choose which one you wanted to go with. Now you can play at 40 FPS. And I think this is going to be a go-to for a lot of people for a lot of games. So that's the end of the video. If you've learned something about the 40 Hertz mode on the Steam Deck, or you enjoyed watching The Witcher 3 gameplay footage in the 40 FPS mode, hit the like button, subscribe, share with your friends. It'd be really awesome if you would do that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.